According to a 2019 update from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median annual earnings for a worker in the U.S. is about $47,216. But plenty of people make more than that. Lawyers, doctors, and CEOs might jump to mind. Some positions are well paid because they require unusually good business sense, intense creativity, or highly specialized skills. But that's not the only way to make big bucks. There are professions that require danger pay. These 10 jobs pay incredibly well because they involve taking incredible risks. 1. Professional athlete. While the average annual salary for an athlete in the US is $44,680, highly skilled professional athletes are paid in the millions. And it makes some sense. Higher annual prices are warranted because even a relatively small injury for a regular office Joe can mean the end of a storied career for athletes. Plus, as well as their box office draw for teams and promoters, many athletes risk their health in order to compete. Boxers like Canelo Alvarez, who made $94 million this past year, and Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson, who made $89.5 million, risk brain injury or worse to do their job. Officially, professional athletes run among the lowest risk of fatalities on this list at 2.4 deaths per 100,000, but that number only takes on-the-job fatalities into consideration. The injuries sustained by sports players who take repeated blunt impacts, especially to the head, can have lasting consequences and, in the case of long-term issues like chronic traumatic encephalopathy or CTE, can ultimately shorten their lifespan. 2. Police officers. When it comes to jobs that involve taking some risk, police officers may jump to mind. First responders know that their job can mean rushing into danger, and we all know that police officers are, typically, more likely to be assaulted or even shot than, say, your local ice cream truck driver. But did you know that the average cop is compensated well above the national median? The average salary for a police officer is $77,849, with starting salaries at around $54,000 and top officials making six figures a year. Of course, with that elevated price tag comes elevated risk. Police officers have an on-the-job fatality rate of 6.2 per 100,000, almost twice the national average. 3. Underground miners, operators, and technicians. The mining industry has been in the news a lot over the past decade as jobs in rural America dwindle, but there are still mining jobs across the country to be had. And those jobs are dangerous and often well paid. Miners and mining foremen have an occupational fatality rate of 11.4 per 100,000, more than 3 times the national average. But compensation for these jobs, especially any that involve skill or particularly risky tasks, can be quite generous. Above-ground miners make, on average, around $62,000 per year, while underground workers will make closer to $150K, especially as they become more experienced. According to miningglobal.com, project directors and drilling operations directors can make as much at $400,000 per year. How high your salary can go simply depends on what and where you're mining. 4. Registered nurse. This entry may surprise you, but it's true. Nurses tend to be compensated above the national average and risk their health more than other workers, including other workers in the health industry. While fatalities are not high, nurses are about 1.5 times as likely to develop musculoskeletal disorders as other workers due to long shifts on their feet, and are 3 times more likely than other workers to be injured in a violent event at work. We've specified RNs on this list, a more highly certified nursing position than nurse practitioner because they tend to make more money. Registered nurses make an average of $68,450 per year and can make up to $100K annually, depending on location and experience. 5. Electrical power line installers and repairers. Electricity. It's easy to take it for granted. You flip a switch and the lights come on. But someone has to keep the power lines up and running, and the work required to do so is a risky proposition. Power lines are often elevated and, though perhaps it goes without saying, working on them means dealing with high voltages of electricity. The slightest slip of the hand or foot can mean injury or worse. In fact, power line workers have an occupational fatality rate of 20.5 deaths per 100,000 workers per year. That's almost 6 times the national average in the USA. To make up for it, they're compensated well, but could be paid better. The standard salary for electrical power line installers and repairers is $59,754, with starting salaries around $49,000 and top workers making around $74,000 per year. It's a dangerous job, but someone has to do it, and about $12,500 more than the national average is a good start when it comes to incentivizing taking on the work. 6. Oil rig worker. Oil rig work is another incredibly dangerous job, and they're only going to get more dangerous as we go down this list. Oil and gas extraction industry employees have an on-the-job fatality rate of 25 per 100,000, and that includes the guys doing the calculations in the offices, so you can do the math that working on an oil rig, especially offshore oil rigs, is less than safe. Oil rig workers often work directly with drilling and extraction equipment, and the hours are unconventional. They typically work 2 long weeks, 80 hours a week for 14 days, balanced with 21 days off. So they only work about 2/5 of the year. And when it comes to the oil industry, those who take risks, and admittedly, those who take less risks, are rewarded. Oil rig workers make an average annual salary of $75,307, but pay can go up to $293,500 a year, if not more, for those working offshore who have specialized skills. 7. Garbage collectors. Surprised to see this here? There are many people who do not know that collecting garbage is both a dangerous and well-paid line of work. If you're wondering in what way the life of a garbage man or woman can be dangerous, they work with trucks that are intended to crush and compact even the toughest garbage. They risk coming into contact with bacteria and other hazardous substances, and, most dishearteningly, they are occasionally hit by impatient drivers who don't see the garbage collector at work. This combination of factors leave garbage collectors with an incredibly high occupational fatality risk, 38.8 per 100,000. That puts them 11 times more likely to die at work than the national average. But to make up for a life lived around what we throw away, they're generally compensated fairly. While $43K is the official national average, overtime and experience often means even those without a high school diploma can make $80,000 or more a year. In fact, senior garbage collectors can make as much as $169,000 a year in big cities. Is it enough for the risk they take on? You decide. 8. Aircraft pilots. Another perhaps unexpected entry on this list. Aircraft pilots and flight engineers have a surprisingly high risk of dying at work. While airline travel is safer than traveling by car, aircraft pilots in general are not always flying big commercial jets, which have the luxury of being able to cancel if there's any doubt about the weather and are typically flown by the most experienced pilots. Private jets and small planes that travel between towns otherwise cut off from supplies, bush pilots, charters, and air taxis are what bring this risk rate up to a whopping 40.4 per 100,000. In fact, about a fifth of all fatal crashes in the US occur in Alaska, where flying between towns is much more common, and for many communities, even a requirement for access. The primary causes of crashes are human error and, in a distant second, unfavorable weather conditions. But with improvements in weather prediction and information technology, rates have continued to drop in that category over time. Fortunately, pilots tend to make good money for their skills, time, and risk. The average salary for a pilot makes around $78,874, but pilots, especially for big commercial airlines like Delta and American, can make as much as $226,000 a year. And if you can graduate to a cushy big airline position like that, your most likely workplace injury switches to back pain from all that sitting. Worth it? Only a pilot can say. 9. Private security contractor. Private security contractors are a little more mysterious than the other workers on this list, and what their jobs entail less uniform. In this case, we're talking primarily about private companies who are employed as independent contractors either by the military or others that need additional private security. While Kim Kardashian's bodyguard probably makes big money for relatively low risk besides, perhaps, your occasional slip and fall, the private military contractors working for various governments in conflict zones take on as much risk or more as a soldier. For that reason, their occupational fatality risk is uniquely hard to gauge, but everyone knows it's dangerous. If you can get paid hundreds and even thousands of dollars a day to help the military, you're probably either highly skilled or doing something very dangerous, or both. These jobs tend to start at around $80,000 per year and can go up to $250,000 or more. 10. Alaskan crab fishermen. Last, but certainly not least, we come to what was once known, thanks to the magic of television, as the most dangerous catch. Fishing in general is both risky and relatively low on the pay scale, but certain highly valued products can command an impressive sum. Alaskan king crab is one such product. During the 3-month season, a crew hand on a fishing boat can make $15,000 per month and $50,000 for the season, and captains can make as much as $200,000 or more in that 3-month span. But here the risk is truly daunting. Fishermen have an on-the-job fatality rate of 54.8 per 100,000, and crab fishing was once notoriously dangerous even for fishing. Today, thanks to changes in restrictions and increased product value, however, it's no longer as dangerous as it once was, and the pay keeps going up. But, as with all fishing, you'll still have to steel yourself against a fatality risk a terrifying 15.6 times the national average. Plus, it's cold. And those are the 10 riskiest jobs that pay out big bucks in exchange for the danger involved in doing them. What do you think? Would you accept the risk in exchange for the reward? Could you do these dangerous jobs? Sound off in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable content like this.